We have now the last session of the day, and subsequently we'll have a Q&A session. And that Q&A session, we have kept a good time so that whatever has been discussed over the period of time today, we can have a all-inclusive Q&A for whichever section participant wants to raise questions, get their clarifications, which will be then, that Q&A session will be then after the current last session of the day, which will be given by Shri Mihir Shah. Mihir Shah is an accomplished consultant, advisor, and trainer in the field of international business, a legally trained corporate strategist holding both MBA in international business and LLB from University of Mumbai. He serves as a vital anchor for global trade development. He is an officially registered ICC Incoterms 2020 trainer in India and serves as an appointed mentor for the Asian Development Bank's Profit Accelerator program, driving the internationalization of SMEs across India and Greater Mekong sub-region. With a phenomenal track record of conducting over 160 trainings annually, more than 7,500 participants. His expertise spans foreign trade policy, GST, and global trade agreement. His extensive contribution to the industry have been recognized with prestigious honors, including the India 500 Best MSME Award. I would now request Shah sir to please come on stage and enlighten us with his thoughts. Thank you.
Hello, check. Hi, good evening. Good evening. I was informed that I'm one of the very prominent speakers for the today's session. Little did I realize the prominency was an afternoon session, right? So I've been given the August assignment that until and unless I do not get a green signal for the tea and coffee, I have to keep you awake. Okay? And it's our joint stock company, so we have to both be together because most of us have had the wonderful desserts which were there in the lunch, right? So it's a very good news for me and a very comfortable position because, you know, when you come as the last batsman, all shots which you are trying to play have already been played. So I have nothing more or nothing new to showcase, right? So whether it's the opening batsman who I've already talked about or very immediately prior to lunch when my friend Mr. Majumdar talked about FTAs and the opportunities, where Mr. Chimankar just mentioned about Trade Connect. So everything has been already talked about. Then what am I here for? Well, you all are exporters, and I think exporters has a very simple and a very clear understanding, which is ये दिल मांगे मोर. अरे सर इतने तो paparazzi मेरे शादी में भी नहीं थे. अच्छा लग रहा है लेकिन एक आध फोटो यहाँ से भी ले लेना because you know what, my wife has a doubt that anybody listens to you or not, right? So this is a proof. हाँ इनका दे लो, मेरा तो ठीक है. So दिल मांगे मोर. How many of you are exporters, by the way? Raise your hand. All of you, yeah, I know, but वो तो exercise करवा रहा था. How many of you have a very simple requirement that you still want to have new buyers and new business? How many of you want it? Or how many of you are very satisfied, sir? We have got too much business. Thank you very much. So I'm sure everybody wants it, and that's the only methodology which you can probably fulfill it is either get new products or enter new markets. Products is something which you are specialist at. I will not teach you what to create, how to make it. Y'all, that's the forte which you already have. Probably there are tools and there are informations available which you can obviously do your own research. Mr. Rahul Majumdar had given you a very good insights on what is the potential in the chemical business. But the second part of the story, which is talking about markets, is something which I'm here for. And whether you like it or not, for last many months, including the last week, where all of you were almost bombarded on the 15th of July, on all your WhatsApps, on emails, and all your social media posts regarding what is called as free trade agreements, right? So the FTAs, now why FTAs are quite important and essential from the perspective of how you're going to get business is probably to put a foot in the door, give you an additional access. So my job here for you as an exporter is not to just talk about FTAs on the superficial or the upper idea, but to go into the nitty-gritties. And when you leave this room today, you are equipped with what is an FTA, you are equipped what are the FTAs, how as an exporter you will be able to track and trace that whether your products are covered or not. We will also talk about some very interesting ideas of also looking at the competition, because sometimes it is very important not only to look at our side but the other side as well. And then the crucial aspect is that, okay, knowing all of this is fine, but how do you actually execute it? What are the documentation? What is the procedure? Because many times knowing and doing is the big difference, right? So that's the area of what we are going to actually do it. So when I start and talk about FTA, I probably, and I correlate this, that an FTA is something like these membership cards. How many of you are very frequent travelers, flyers? Couple of you at least travel regularly for work or for business. Many of you are regular in common hotels, so you have this. And many of us are like you and me who have only Amazon Prime. Huh? See the smile. And in their heart it is Zomato Gold, huh? Swiggy, right? But all of these memberships are something which is special. Now just think about this. Whether I am an Air France or a Taj member or a Club Maharaja in Air India or the erstwhile what we all used to love is the Vistara and the Jet Airways memberships, right? If you travel regularly, you become those elite members, right? So you said you are a member, so right? Now what happens, sir? If you are a member of this frequent flyer program or you are a member of this Lalit group of hotels frequent flyer club, is it that only you can fly, I cannot fly, or I cannot stay? Can I not? I can. So basically I can do normal business the way it is. But what happens, you know? So what's your good name, if I may just ask? Anand. Anand is a frequent flyer. So what happens is for us is, when you and I fly, even for that middle seat in the airline, we have to pay 300 rupees. And Anand is such a nice guy because he travels regularly, he is a member. He walks in earlier than you and me and takes a window seat free of cost. Acha, no, aisle. He says aisle. So what is the advantage? He doesn't get that cost. So he gets some advantage, he gets some privileges. You and I land up early in the morning on this Mumbai range, come to the hotel, and the hotel said, sorry sir, your check-in time is 2 o'clock. But madam regularly travels for work and she regularly stays at the Lalit hotels, so she probably gets early check-in. Now these kind of privileges are that added extra bonus. Of course, every time you will then want to travel and stay in the same hotel. Every time Anand will go and fly the same airline, because that's the advantage. It's a win-win situation for both. Because if you travel more, you get more perks. And because you get more perks, you will travel more. Now why will the airline not or lose out on that 300, 500 X money? Because you are going to spend 5,000 rupees on the ticket. If you understand this analogy, it is exactly how the free trade agreements are. Please understand, all countries across the globe who are member of the WTO are to be considered equal. So you cannot have a differential treatment of listening, oh, you know what, you are my neighbor, I don't like you, I will charge you more duty. You are my not good, you are a very good person, I will charge you less duty. So everybody, which is called as the WTO countries, we will have to have a same duty structure, same processes. But then if I want to have some more better relations, I can give discounts. Many of you are into chemical business, some of you I heard in the morning some examples of pharma, but I'm sure all of you are consumers and we all know the concept of MRP, maximum retail price. So typically what does that MRP say? You can't sell above that price. But if you are a store and if you want to promote, can you give discounts? Obviously yes. Can I give 5% discount? Yes. If you do volume business, can I give 10%? Yes. MRP is the maximum price. I cannot charge you more, but I can give you better deals. You buy 1 plus 1, I'll give you better deals. You buy 1 plus 2, I'll give you more further deals. So similarly, when I'm doing global business, the country says, listen, I can't charge you more. I can't have a differential duty structures, or I can't have a differential problems, because we have to have a common relationship under WTO. But you can become my favorite customer, you can be my favorite trading partner, or we have an interest between each other because I want something from you, you have something from me. Let us do something whereby we can reduce. So my highest duty or my top duty is about 10%, 12%, 15%. I will not charge others about 20%. That's not possible. But I can reduce duty for you from 10 to 5 to 0. So that is how I am going to utilize the benefit. So that's how the free trade agreements are created. It is an indirect way of supporting a business which you want to increase. Alright? So that's how you want to look at the free trade agreements. But the challenge is, ये सब है ना membership में और ये सब में ही problem है. The names are a confusing factor. We are all talking about FTA, FTA, FTA. But the biggest problem is India, UK, SETA came into existence. अभी ये SETA क्या है? I'll tell you a very interesting thing. Not even SETA, it is SEPA. So I'll tell you a very interesting thing. I was doing a session, not now, but somewhere in January, February, when somebody in one of the sessions, a very senior gentleman, and come and told me, he was asking me, Mr. Shah, ye, and he spoke to me in Hindi and he said, Mr. Shah, ye India UK में स्यापा क्या है? And honestly, मेरा problem था, India UK का सच स्यापा कुछ नहीं है. अच्छा कोई स्यापा नहीं है. नहीं है ना, अभी हमने कुछ स्यापा किया. I'm like, what is स्यापा? And then he said, no, we signed some SEPA. Oh, it is SEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, and it is not some SIAPA. So then I realized it is not some problem he's talking about some agreement. So the problem is this nomenclature also, कि यार क्या नाम है, हम तो FTA बोल रहे हैं पर अभी तो कुछ अलग ही आ रहा है, and then there is something called as TEPA and ECTA and whatnot. So let's quickly understand this, very simple. The FTA, the first and the initial, the most simplest form of an agreement is called PTA, Preferential Trade Agreement. Now what is this Preferential Trade Agreement? Two or more countries decide that we want to have relationships in business, we want to increase our business, but it is not for all goods. So what do? You decide. You as a country, you want to give me relaxation in 10 goods? Okay. I as a country want to give relaxation in 5 goods. 10 and 5, 15 becomes a list. That's it. Matter over. No further discussion. One of the smallest, easiest agreement only in relation of goods. Which means it is a positive list. If your product is not there, forget about it. Go to the next thing. Don't try and put in effort because this is the only thing possible. So it's a preferential, as the word says, you have been preferred. Those 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever the products are, typically identified by an HSN code, are the ones which are there. But then you all know now there is a challenge because the HSN code at 6-digit levels also will have one HSN code above and one HSN below will also be similar. Think about your chemicals, red, yellow, blue, green, ink. सारे chemicals के HSN codes तो similar hai. So you cannot restrict it to that one. So you want to discuss or you want to have it in more. So then there are larger agreements where people discuss right from chapter 1 to chapter 97 all HSN codes, and the discussion is we will take each and every HSN code, whether you want to give me a discount as a country or you don't want to, it's your prerogative. Like India will not give discounts or it will not allow in major agriculture commodities. That's a thing, right? Or thing where we want to protect our domestic. Fair enough, but it will be part of the discussion, and that agreement is called free trade agreements, FTA. Which means an FTA is a detailed document Each of the agreements will have from chapter 1 to chapter 97, each of the details to be looked at. So you might have to look exactly, and mind you, be very specific, because probably one of your HSN code may get a discount and probably the other may not get a discount. Don't assume. But then I'm sure a lot of my colleagues from the service sectors and others, they said, sir, hamare liye kya? And just merely, I think in one of the presentations, I think, yes, Mr. Majumdar mentioned it, that it is not about only about goods, because there are some products where you do not have a duty structure at all. You already have a MFN or a rate is zero. So it is also beyond duties. So what about non-tariff barriers? What about registrations? What about service sector, intellectual properties, human flow? All of these is also to be looked at, because people want to do more and more business. So then we created new form of FTAs or the descriptive days, which are called as SEPA and SESA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, or Comprehensive Economic Cooperative Agreement and Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. We now have ECTA, Economic Cooperation Trade Agreement. These are nomenclatures to give you an understanding that it does not include only goods, it includes intellectual property, it includes IP laws, it includes other things as a part of it. I'll give you some examples as we go along. So it is not just merely on these aspects. Maybe I can tell you right away. So one of the SEPA agreement is India-Australia. It is India-Australia ECTA. But a very interesting part as a part of ECTA, India-Australia, apart from the goods and the services, is anybody who wish to retire or probably take up job in the Australia, you and I probably may not get a chance, depending upon what kind of our qualifications are. But as a part of ECTA, if you are a yoga teacher, if you are a chef, if you are a nurse, every year under the agreement we have 1700 visas exclusively available. If you want to go and work for next 3 years in Australia, you are welcome. Probably you'll get visa earlier than each one of us. So probably my job after consultancy or a service provider should, I think, start looking at being a yoga teacher or a chef. Chef is probably difficult. Yoga soch sakte hai. So that's the kind of agreement added value we are trying to build up on a larger scale of agreements. There is India-UAE. I'll give you that example. India-UAE, we have also signed an agreement, especially now, of course, chemicals probably doesn't require mandatory regulations in terms of any registrations, right? But many of your chemicals are part of, I was looking at in one of the queries, somebody said about pharma. Now we all understand that pharma requires an FDA or a registration in India. Similarly, each country requires that registration. One of the peculiar advantages in the FTA of the India-UAE is recognition of globally accepted FDA approval. So if you have a better approval already in place, so let's say you have a US FDA or a UK FDA already in place, of course you have an India FDA registration. Then while you go to UAE to register, certain of the requirements will be waived off, which means your cost and your time will get reduced because that waiver is available in terms of the registrations. This is different. This is not a direct advantage, but the advantage here is that if all of us had to go and register, and if you take about 3 years, 2 of them who had this advantage and under the FTA will register in 3 months or 6 months, that is an entry faster in the market, and obviously they get more easier access. So these are the kind of FTAs which you want to look at. So if there's a very basic FTA which is a PTA to a complex FTAs like the ECTA and the SEPA and the SESA. Well, as of date we have so many of these already signed, including the one which is live just about few days back, which is the India-UK. And each of these FTAs have very interesting and unique propositions for everyone. To start with, let's say India-Australia, we started from 2022, this is almost 4 years, and it is growing and blooming as far as your access to Australia is concerned. If you talk about India, Oman, the success of India, UAE is also added another feather in the Middle East, that we have an India, Oman live from 1st of June. And you know what? All the products exported from India today, that means almost 99.9%, there could be hardly a product which I know of, is zero in Oman when you export. Now just understand this context very clearly. I think this is what people don't understand. In an FTA, you get indirect benefit. So don't come to any department and say, sir, hamara paisa do na, FTA hai. You don't get direct incentives, you don't get any benefit. Don't come to an Exim Bank and say, sir, our proposal of FTA refund. The point is that when you export goods to Oman, to UAE, to Australia, to these FTA countries, the buyer does not pay that duties. So what happens? Your buyer's landing cost becomes cheaper. Effectively, the buyer will more and more come to India, and of course it is in your hands to that when he comes to India, he comes to you. But it is at least making sure that the buyer comes to India because of this added advantage. It is also your negotiating tool that when the buyer says, oh, you know what, I can get this from Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or Philippines at so and so price, but you say, sir, your price will have to pay duty. From India, there will be no duty, or it will be lesser duty. So the effective landed cost, 100 plus 5 is 105, but in our case, 101 plus 0 is still 101. So though you are going to probably pay me $1 more, your still landed cost is cheaper. India Oman came into existence and it is live from 1st of June. Almost all products under the India's export basket is zero. Chemical sector, of course, that's what I'm saying, 99% is already done. India EU is a work in progress. Please understand, we have only signed the FTA. The FTA is going to be in 3 phases, and this is important for you on a different aspect. We will discuss that, but look at this. We will have a first phase where almost 70% of the duties will go zero the day India UA comes into act. Hopefully by end of the year or maybe next year we will have it. Then there will be about 20% which will come in phase 2. So maybe there will be products which will get reduced in a percentage wise. So let's say it will reduce by 1% every year or a 0.5% every year, depending upon the tariff lines in the EU. And then there will be another 6% which will happen later on, which will have either a quota or a tariff restrictions basis what India and EU, depending upon countries, agree. What you have to look at is there is a potential market for HSN codes which are going to be effectively zero on that 70%. But it is going to take time, it is yet not implemented. Almost 97% of the chemicals are going to be covered on that 70%. So at least for you it is going to be entry in first go. But it is going to take time. So take this opportunity to probably develop that market beforehand. But the problem is we are only focusing, and everybody is talking about EU, and EU FTA is going to come, right? But you'll be surprised, we have existing already an FTA live for last 2 years with European countries which you are not exploring. And in fact, almost all of your products are, as we speak, zero in all of these 4 European countries. So in this entire spectrum of those 27 odd European countries, there is 4 countries, Switzerland, Norway, Liechtenstein and Iceland. These 4 countries have formed themselves, they have formed a European Free Trade Association. ये हमने नहीं बनाया. India and FTA, which is the European Free Trade Association, has signed an FTA last 2 years ago. We are celebrating the 2nd anniversary, by the way. So last 2 years we have this agreement. Basically it means that your product going to Switzerland even today, forget EU agreement, even today has 0% duty. Your product going to Norway has 0% duty. Obviously, and I understand this, probably Switzerland or Norway is not the market size which we can compare to a UK market or an Australia or a US or a Canada. But just tell me, how much is your market share in the Switzerland from whatever it is available? Even if the market share is 10 crores, and I'm just saying rupee terms, do you have 1 crore of that share? You do not have 1 rupee sale right now. At least increase that, because that's going to be your entry to your EU market. That is going to be your test matches. That is going to be your practice when EU comes up and it is open, available in full-fledged, whether it is product acceptance, pricing, other details, and you are comfortable with how EU is going to do. And you have this at a zero cost, because the duties are already done away with the India FTA trade agreement. The one which we are almost gaga about in recent time is the India-UK FTA, which is called India-UK CETA. We signed it in July last year, we implemented it on 15th of July, and as I speak, almost all products, again 99% of the India's exports to UK from 15th of July has become zero. And it is not just goods, it is IT services. And why it is called CETA? It is called Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement. Along with the agreement, we also have actively done the DCC live. What is DCC? The Double Contribution Convention. What does Double Contribution Convention basically says? In case if you want to open an office in UK, you will have to apply and you'll have to have an employee there. As per the UK guidelines, an employee has to pay social security, contribute from the salary in the social security of the UK. But because of the DCC, that social security is not to be done for 3 years. I'm told now it has been extended to 5 years. But at least 3 years though it is part of the agreement, but now I think 5 years. But the point is, for that 3 years, that social security contribution, neither your employer has to do, neither your employee has to do, and nor you have to do. So that cost is an advantage to you. Which means, if you want to grow your business there, and you need to hire employees and make some business set up, you are good enough, because your cost will be much better than the domestic cost, because those employees still have to pay. We've also taken care of procedures, and I will explain you this. It is done through the FTA as well, in Oman as well, and now in UK, by way of self-declaration on terms of certificate of origin. Mr. Chimankar mentioned, I think earlier, few other speakers talked about it, and e-commerce and the exports under e-commerce is a big thing which we are all talking about. The FTA has also considered that, and let me tell you very clearly, if your export parcels are less than 1000 GBP, not rupees, 1000 GBP, which is a very good value, then mere self-declaration is good enough, not even certification is required. Many of you will fall under this category, especially for exporters who are probably sending some sample shipments, probably sending some test shipments. You are not only be able to do that quickly, but at zero cost, because when it lands in the UK, you have no import duties. Right? So these are examples of what these FTAs are able to give you. But you know what? Itna sannata hai because everybody says, sir, humko kya? ये तो बड़ी बड़ी बातें हैं. It is all big picture. So let's talk about your picture, very specific. So these are examples for you to understand that this is not just macro things that somebody gets benefit, each one of you get benefit. Look at this product called sulfuric acid. If you export sulfuric acid from India today to Indonesia, Indonesia levies a normal duty of 15%. By the way, this normal duty ka ek term hai. Any idea? What is this normal duty called? BCD. Yeah, that's BCD. But what is the normal duty called? MFN. Most favored nation. You know why it is very important to know this? This sounds very interesting. Most favored means kuch favor hai nahi. Most favored means every country under WTO is considered as most favored. So don't get confused that MFN is a cheaper or better. MFN is a normal customs duty. Under preferential CO or preferential duty, under India-ASEAN FTA, Indonesia will charge 0 to your buyer when you export sulfuric acid from India to Indonesia. Your chemical pigment violet, which is under chapter 32, export to Japan, the normal duty is 5.3%. You will end up paying, or your buyer will end up paying 0, because we have India, Japan, SEPA available to you. The ladies in the house will enjoy this, or at least people who are manufacturing creams. Of course, it would have been reversed, you will have enjoyed more, but that is also there. But export of face creams, chapter 33 to Australia, normal duty is 5%, but your buyer in Australia will end up paying 0 because it's covered under India-Australia ACTA. Sandalwood oil under chapter 33 again, export to Philippines under India-ASEAN FTA, 3% duty, export under agreement 0. India-UAE copper oxychloride, chapter 38, again 5% is the duty in UAE, you end up paying 0 because of India-UAE SEPA. And the latest one being the food yellow under chapter 32, exported to UK, the normal duty until 15th of July was 6%. I mean, even it is today 6%, but because of India-UK SETA, the end duty which your buyer will pay is 0%. And trust me, I know many of exporters, and I probably know a bit of your profitability. Many of you don't even have 6% profits. So imagine when your calculation, you save that 6% to your buyer, it is a very big advantage which you are able to get out of it. Now, this information I have been able to get is not a secret story, and this is what I want to, this is just to give you an example. And this is how I want to showcase to you that this is possible to check by each one of you. Mr. Vishwajit Chimankar mentioned about it, I will reiterate, and I want you to understand this. So before you go, you probably want to understand this clearly. All of you can get this information on your fingertips, even on your mobile phones, online. Free of cost, no registrations required. So where do I get? So basically, because I am not considered your HSN code, right? Probably your HSN codes are a little different. They are chapter 38, they are chapter 29, they are chapter 30. So you will log on to the website called trade.gov.in. That's the Trade Connect website. We just had a discussion probably 5 minutes back. So under the Trade Connect website, there is an option under where to export. There is an option called Tariff Explorer. And the Tariff Explorer allows you something like this, where you will select the country, put in your HSN code and say search. 2 instructions before you want to do this. Number 1, always research maximum up to 6-digit level, because the alignment with the international HSN code between India and everybody is 6 digits. India follows 8 digits. That's called ITCHS. Harmonized System Code, or HSN, is a 6-digit code. In fact, I would go a step further, do it at 4-digit or 6-digit to start, and then look at the description and then tally it as you go along. And number 2, not only for this and for multiple tools which we are going to discuss, keep a cup of coffee along with you. It sometimes takes a little time to load. Lot of information is there. So don't get irritated, don't get frustrated. Ek chai coffee ka cup rakho and then start doing this research. Clear? So trade.gov.in gives you. By the way, you don't need to log into this website also. Please understand why I am saying this, because somebody will say, sir, ye mere paas password nahi hai, my manager has it, or my accountant has it, or my director has it. How will I check? Any one of you can check. What can you check? You can check the country, you can put the HSN code, it will tell you 2 things. It will not tell you normal rate, it will tell you MFN rate. What is MFN rate? Normal duty. And then it will say under FTA, what is the revised duty or the benefit. So you should know what is MFN. MFN is your normal rate of duty, and Under FTA, how much you end up paying, how much your buyer will end up paying. Of course, I'm going to talk about exports, and this is export promotion. But let me tell you, for export, if you have to take import also, secret. यहाँ पे एक tab है, दिख रहा है? Can you see the tab on the right side? Import into India. Switch the tab, and now if you want to import something into India from any of these partner countries, you can check that also. So when you want to buy your raw material, when you want to buy something, you want to import it from Japan or from Korea or from UK or from Australia, you can use that as well. So you can understand that whether your duty of 7.5% or 5% or 10% BCD will be 10 or 0, you can examine it here. Clear? Make sense? Now the challenge is, you understood there is an FTA, you understood that there is a advantage to you, able to find out what is the advantage when India exports these goods to that country. Clear? And because of this, excitedly you told your buyer, hey listen, I will give you a better deal. You know, we have an FTA, you will get 5% discount. Do remember, international business and business per se is like a game of cards and poker. Do not disclose everything and expect everything before you understand the opposite party or your opposition. I have a very interesting connotation for this, and I take this inspiration, and I don't know how many of people know me, but people who know me know this very clearly. I'm a strong believer that if India exports and Indian exporters want to grow, they should watch Bollywood movies. They teach you a lot. So the example which I want to give you is, there is this movie called Dangal. कितने लोगों ने देखा है भाई? सबने देखा है ना? Right. Apart from whatever the good story, the acting and everything is, there is one particular scene where she wins the second last match, the silver match. So she wins the match, and now she is going to compete for the finals. Correct? She wins it, everybody is happy. Amir Khan and the brother Apar Shakti Khurana stand up. Right? And Apar Shakti Khurana tells Amir Khan, the father, that let's go. And you know what happens in that scene? Amir Khan says, wait. And there's a scene where the second match, the opponent is going to play. And Amir Khan asks him, let us sit and watch. Competition to dekhe kaun hai? You know your FTA, you are aware of your market, you are aware of your advantage. कि अच्छा मैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया को एक्सपोर्ट करूंगा तो 5% के बाद 0 होगा. Do you know what is the duty of Philippines to that Australia market, which is your competition? तो आपने सोचा कि I have हुक्म का एक का, but he has 3 हुक्म के एक के, तो what will you do? You assume that I am the only country where FTA works. It's not that way. So whether that FTA is your best bet forward or it is one of everybody, how do you compare? Because trade.gov.in will only talk about India's FTA. So I also want to make sure that it is, as we say in the cricket, you have to play all your balls on the merit. Har bar shot nahi marna. Sometimes you have to defend it, and sometimes you have to come ahead and hit for a 6. So what is it I have to understand for which the World Customs and the United Nations ITC, International Trade Center, they have jointly created a platform called Find Rules of Origin. Now what does Find Rules of Origin do? The same thing what we've just discussed, but globally. So now when I say export from, generally I would have said export from India to Australia. Now what will I do? I will say export from India, I can add countries. So which are other countries? Who are my competitors? China, Bangladesh, Philippines, Korea, I don't know, whichever countries. You can add multiple countries. You can export from so many countries, import to Australia, put your HSN code, search. Now you will get India, Australia 0. India, Philippines अगर कोई agreement है, India, Korea some agreement, I mean Australia, Philippines agreement, Australia, Korea agreement, everything. So you will get all the details to understand whether there is a similar setup available between your competitor, and then you know, in fact, there could be an agreement, but that agreement allows from 5% to let's say 3%. So when your buyer says, oh no, I can get a discount from Philippines also. Yes sir, you can get, but that 5% will still become 3%. From India, 5% becomes 0%. That added knowledge, you will have upper hand. Find rules of origin. No registration, no linkage, no login, कुछ नहीं करना है, freely available online. Cool? So now you have both the sides of the story. Is it your best foot forward? Is it only for you, or is it for other countries also? Or probably there is an agreement. There is an agreement with UK. But Australia, UK, or India and UK, probably your products are different. That's not your main competitor. So you're okay with it. It's okay. It doesn't matter. So you will probably be in a better position once you have the idea about what your other countries' FTA are. Clear? It can be, of course, used in other way around also. Think about this, that you want to import something into India. So you say import India, and you are contemplating whether should I buy from China, should I buy from Korea, should I buy from Germany, should I buy from Australia? And almost the price, product is everything is same. But what is the advantage? Just put it in that, you'll get the same answer. Okay, China, India and China is part of FTA agreement, Asia Pacific Trade Agreement. But is the product covered, not covered, you will get an answer. So it probably, if let's say it's not covered, normal duty 7.5% is what you're going to pay. But if you buy from Korea, 7.5% becomes 0. Japan, we have an agreement, the product is not covered, still you pay. From other countries, so now we have a clear picture what you want to do, whether you want to go to China, whether you want to go to Australia, whether you want to go to Korea. That context is clarified because of this tool available to you. This is not a tool which I created, it is not a tool which is exclusively for somebody, it is publicly available, created by the World Customs and the United Nations ITC, available for everyone. Find rules of origin. So I have given you the access of understanding of the FTA, I have given you the access of how you will find the rules, find the FTA. There will be some questions that I also want to understand, because there is a lot of potential in the markets. My job was easily done because Rahulji, Mr. Majumdar came before me and he gave the potential of the market and the details. So my job is easy, but just to give you that what he had done, and I don't know how many of you really carefully looked at it, because I know it was pre-lunch and everybody was a little edgy. So just to make sure that what he had given you in snapshot, if you want to do that hard work, and Rahul bhai, I am going to disclose that, but if you had clearly seen, there were data which was taken from a website called Trade Map. Again, this is a free tool available now. Why this Trade Map is important? Because when we are talking about markets and potential FTAs, I gave you a list of FTAs which probably covers around 36 countries live. Now 36 countries में से आप कौन से 6 country में जाना चाह रहे हो? Then if you want to look at the potentiality of it, you can go to this option called Trade Map and look at the data and filter that free of cost based on various tools and information. The same, by the way, this is the same organization, United Nations, ITC, International Trade Center. The same website also has a tool which you see other tools mentioned, has another tool to further give you more information, not only by numbers, but in terms of potentiality, that by 2030, they are in 2026, next 4 years, what is the potential of the products and the market in that HSN code or in that market? You can go to this free tool, click on export potential, look at the details. It is beautifully user interface, graphically created, no numbers, very clear graphical understanding. You put your HSN code, put a country, or you put your HSN code and say world. It will tell you what is the potential, how much has been given. You put your product, put India and put export to world. It will tell you how much market share India has got in that product compared to the world, so you can understand whether you want to go to that market or you don't want to go. It may seem that yes, there is a huge potential in Nepal for your product, but the potential is already 99% already catered to or 95% done. So 95 for balance 5 के लिए जा सकते हो आप, doesn't make sense. But there is a huge potential in Australia where though 50% is captured, but the balance 50% is a huge value or volume term which is available to you. So that export potential will be something which you can look out for. Right? So you understand the FTA, you understand the potentiality, you know where to find your products, and you have tools enough to do your own research. Right? So this was something which we internally had planned by ChemExcel, that they said, sir, every time people come to the seminar and lectures, right, they just go back empty-handed. We should give them something. So we give you homework. Okay? We have given you homework. You have enough tools. Now, please don't come back to ChemExcel or Vishal sir and say, अरे sir, हमको कुछ मिला नहीं, आपको बहुत कुछ मिला है, पहले वो data find करके बताओ. So now when you write to ChemExcel or to Exim Bank and say, we are not able to reach to that market, they will tell you, show us what you have found out from a trade map. If you don't give that, then you know the answer. Pahla wo kar. So now you have enough homework to find and do your own research. Right? So we've got the understanding of the FTA, we've got the tools to do it. The final finale, which is the most essential, because many of you say, sir, ये सब हमको मालूम है, मेरे 4 ही product है, and I know all these 4 products are covered. Very good. But then what is the process? So the challenge is documentation or the procedure. The core of the FTA revolves on a concept called rules of origin. Okay? But we are going to talk about multiple things. We are going to talk about rules of origin. We are going to talk about cumulation, because that can be some help to some of you. Product specific rules, which comes under the rules of origin, and the de minimis provision. Now what is rules of origin? Rules of origin is very simple, that it is the most important assessment to make sure whether you are eligible or not. Anand sir, right? Anand is a member on the frequent flyer program, does not necessarily mean that his family also gets the same benefit. He gets it because it is he who is it. That's the advantage of he being a member. And it is only for him and not for everyone. The rules of origin or the FTAs are very clear that the benefit should be passed on only for origin country or the Indian origin goods for that matter. Why? Obviously, because you have to look at the longer picture, that when goods are exported from India to that country, there is a revenue loss on that country, the buying country, let's say UK, Australia, Oman, Mauritius, Korea, Japan, all of them are not getting the duty revenue. So when they forego on duty, they want to make sure it is given to Indian products, Indian origin products. So very stringent procedure to identify what it is in terms of origin. Now origin means where goods are manufactured, and typically there are only 2 methodologies of understanding this, or 2 processes. One, it is wholly obtained in India, which means the product which you have manufactured has 0 raw material which is imported. Okay? And number 2, there is some imported raw material. Do remember, I am talking about some imported raw material, not the finished goods. Finished good is still manufactured in India. So your final chemical, your final face wash, your final oil is Indian, but you have added some derivatives, you have added some chemical, you have added some packaging. Something is been there which is imported. Each of the product list which is agreed in the FTA will decide whether it has to be wholly obtained or whether not wholly obtained is also allowed. Now obviously, typically natural agriculture, basic commodities will obviously be on wholly obtained. I don't want to have a Sri Lankan tea from India, right? So if I'm saying that tea will be allowed to be imported duty free in Australia, I am very clear it has to be Indian Assam tea, which means it has to be wholly obtained in. I don't want a blended tea and then give discount and duty also. ऐसा थोड़ी agreement बनेगा. I want the original Assamese tea, which will then be duty exempted. So there it will be wholly obtained. But then can there be not wholly obtained? Obviously there will be a lot of inputs which for your excellent quality raw material finished goods requirement is there that it will be imported. It could be 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever. So for that not wholly obtained, there are certain criterias, and there are typically two criteria. One, you have a very product specific rules, or you have a normal regional value content to be added. So how does that normal regional value content? Every FTA has a percentage of that content described. Anything, so for UK it is 40%. So 40% Indian origin is compulsory, 60% import is allowed. Regional content, what content? Regional inputs. So how do you decide that there is an input or this? So there are basically three parameters. One is called regional value content, which is 60% in terms of value. One is change in tariff, and the third one is substantial manufacturing, real manufacturing. What do I mean by real manufacturing? Small processes like kitting, rekitting, labeling, relabeling, boxing, reboxing, breaking, cleaning, washing. All of these is not considered as manufacturing. आपने क्या किया? You bought a product in bulk, brought it into India, imported it into India, and then said, I packed it in small pieces, or I bought a bulk 100 liters gallon and then did it 1 liter packaging. That is not allowed. That's not the product conversion. So the minimum basic requirements are that it should be manufactured. You know, when you write the word origin or country of origin, it is India when you manufacture. You know what is the best way to consider this as? You have to follow the rules in terms of change of tariff. So I'll give you a very classical example. The last one being the most difficult, but it is easy to understand. So we'll start with the most difficult. So imagine if the rule says that you have to do 45%, but there has to be change in tariff. Sorry, change in chapter. My bad. It is the last one. In this case, it's the first one on the most difficult. We've changed that. Okay. So what is chapter number? Change in chapter number. What is your export HSN code, by the way? Anybody? अरे HSN code क्या है आपका? हाँ जी? 39, right? Your export product is chapter 39. Simple rule. आपके जितने भी raw material है, if you are importing, domestic नहीं. And when I say domestic नहीं, domestic procured नहीं, origin domestic होना चाहिए. Any imported raw material should not be in chapter 39. It can be 28, 29, 30, 35, whatever it is. In short, there should be change in chapter. Your bill of material imported should not have anything from your chapter 39. And if you look at it, your own processes, if you do buy raw material from a different chapter, there will be actual manufacturing in chapter 39, because that's how the conversion happens. So that's the most easy way to understand, very difficult, but you have to understand. So that means your semi-processed products will not come under it, because chapter 39 may wire. Then you have rule which is change in tariff heading 4-digit level. So sir, what is your 39? 0? HSN code क्या है? 29. So 3929. Your product or your raw material can be anything, even from chapter 39, but not 29, anything from 01 to 28. So if you have semi-processed or you have a pre-distilled product, it is okay. 3904 में आया, 3929 में export किया, चलेगा, provided the condition is change in tariff heading. And then one of the smallest requirement, but very difficult to understand, is change in tariff subheading, 6-digit level. So 392920, then you can have change up to 392910, because your change has to be at the 6-digit level, which can be, that is a small processing change or a size change or anything. So if your raw material is covered under chapter 39, it is covered under heading number 29, but if it is different subheading, it is allowed. So your raw material should follow these change level along with, that is plus, the minimum regional value content, which is, example we said 40%, somewhere it is 35, somewhere it is 55. So depending upon the FTA, what is the minimum regional value, you have to do it. And what is the regional value? Indian content. When you are exporting the finished goods, you have imported raw materials, you have imported some semi-finished products, you have imported your packaging. When you talk about Indian goods, what is the other things which go in from India, what will it go inside it? Your other raw materials, your labor, your expenses, your overhead costs, your profit, right? So to calculate this calculation of 40% or 50%, we have a formula which can basically say your originating material, which is Indian material, plus your labor, plus your overhead, plus your profit, plus your other cost, divided by your export value, which is your FOB value. और ये कितना होना चाहिए? Minimum 40%. Now somebody will say, sir, ये इतना सारा, because there are small, lot many expenditures. I might have only one item imported. So for that one item which I don't have to calculate, I have to add 99% of other things. It is becoming difference. So you do the reverse calculation. What you do is you take FOB value of exports minus your imported content divided by your FOB. If it is not more than 60%, then it is good enough. So you can do it either what is called as a build down method or a build up method. You add all your Indian things, or you take your export product and minus your imported content, and it will be done. समझ में आया? This is to be done for your every transaction. Okay? So you have to take care of this very, very essentially. Now, there are product specific rules based on the HSN codes. So while general rule was 35%, 40%, you also have to look at chapters where there are some product specific rules. Just hypothetically, look at chapter 40, there are some rubber articles, but look at down, there is an option called smoke sheets, and it says WO. What is WO? Wholly obtained. So though under this India-Oman agreement, everything is 40%, but the smoke sheets, if you are exporting, cannot have 1 milligram also of imported, because iska product specific rule is wholly obtained. But for others it is 40% plus the change in tariff or change in subheading. Now there is one very interesting concept which I want you to understand, because that will help you to reduce. Now if somebody says, sir, I have only 10% imported, 90% is domestic, so you are comfortable. Or you have 100% domestic, you are very comfortable. But think about where you are in that borderline of 40% and 45%. There is a concept of cumulation, and I will discuss on two parts of it. One which is called as direct cumulation, and one is called as multi-cumulation or cross-cumulation. Agreements like India, Australia, India, UK, which are bilateral, only two countries. When you have your list of raw materials and you consider that as imported, because your calculation has to happen. But because the agreement is what? India-UK agreement, right? If the raw material is imported from UK origin, by virtue of cumulation, that quantity or that value will not be considered. It will be equivalent to your domestic, so you don't have to worry about it. Are you clear? So importing by the same FTA. This is direct cumulation. There is a indirect or a multilateral. Imagine an agreement called India-ASEAN. We have an ASEAN countries of 10 countries block and India. Now beautiful thing. For your ASEAN-India agreement, you are exporting to Indonesia. Now, whatever you import is going to be charged, but if you buy raw material from, say, Philippines, Philippines is also part of ASEAN agreement. So you buy from Philippines, you manufacture and sell to Indonesia, that is also part of cumulation. It will not be considered as imported. Now you do your calculation. If you are safeguarded, congratulations, it helps for you. But for people who say, sir, पहले हमारा 10% imported था, अभी 15% हुआ, we are still above the threshold limit. We wanted to get only 60%, हमने तो 80% किया है. No worries, then so you have no problems. Last but not the least, you have a provision called de minimis. Imagine you have 99% domestic content. पर यार 1% एक स्पेसिफिक बायर की रिक्वायरमेंट है या कोई केमिकल चाहिए जो 1% आप इंपोर्टेड ला रहे हो, एंड इट डजंट क्वालिफाई फॉर द रूल बिकॉज इट सेज CTH होना चाहिए या चैप्टर नंबर चेंज होना चाहिए, बट इट इज द सेम चैप्टर. What do? You have a provision called de minimis that if it does not, in terms of value terms, does not be increased by 10% of your FOB value, and if it is garments related, if it is not 10% by weight, then it will be ignored and you will still be eligible if you are fulfilling the rest of the conditions, which is 40% or 35% of regional value content. So de minimis allows you that small import or small change. कि अच्छा, I had to do chapter change, but I am buying one small ingredient. I am buying some 1 gram of some chemical just to add color or add to value to that product, but it is from the same chapter. अभी यहाँ पे तो बोला है change in chapter होना चाहिए. You are not able to match that. So in that case, you will take the advantage of de minimis. Alright, so you have the option of understanding the requirements, you have the option of the calculations of how you do it, and then you have the accumulation and de minimis as the support. Now how do you do this? You have to go to the website called trade.gov.in and you have to apply for what is called as the preferential certificate of origin. This is a preferential COO which is not issued by the Chamber of Commerce or any association. It is issued by only authorized agency, naming DGFT, Export Inspection Agency, Marine Board and some others. We have moved further based on the new agreements from FTA point of view. In FTA, in India, Oman and in India, UK, we have also an option of self-certification. With the digital signature you can go. So you will apply for this certificate, you will upload the documents. What documents will you upload? Very basic, invoice, packing list, shipping bill. सबको मालूम है? If you have exported, you will support the BL or the airway bill. You will supply or support the cost sheet. What cost sheet? We did that build down and build up method because I have to understand whether you have qualified for or not. Now one of the most common question is, do I have to do this for every single transaction? Answer is yes. Why? Because every transaction the calculation will differ. You might have a lower FOB or a higher FOB. You might have a higher purchase or lower purchase. तो formula change हो गया तो अरे सर 99% हमारा domestic है. अरे that can be there, but you'll have to justify. Please remember, we are on a self-declaration mode. You have to certify. Nobody is going to come and verify every content. Of course, there are powers available. If need be, they will verify. If need be, they will even inspect your factory. But on a normal instance, it is based on self-declaration. But you have to submit it for each and every shipment, a cost sheet which is giving that calculation. You will submit it online. Everything is processed online, including the issuance of the certificate, which comes to you straight away online. Duty digitally signed, QR code enabled, verifiable, which means your buyer on the other side or the customs on the other side can comfortably verify that this certificate is correctly given or not. Alright? So this is that passport, this is that document or a letter which will help your buyer get the advantage of the duties. Before we wrap this up, it works both the sides, right? Because it's not that one way कि मैं ही आपको से बोलूँ, आपको भी मुझे पूछो. So I cannot just keep on asking the overseas countries to take. I will also have to import. So the similar FTAs, exactly the same thing applies on the other side. But in that case, we are the receiving end. Unfortunately, in the past history, those FTAs which we have signed, we have always been more on import, less on exports, and hence the department has kept some checks and balances in place. So just like how you make these cost sheets, you make this cost sheet and submit it, the department says, or the custom says, we will want, when you import, to submit the same from your supplier. The supplier will obviously give you this certificate, but along with that, we want them to give you some reference or some details to understand, have they fulfilled the conditions under the FTA. And for that, we have created a rule under customs called the Carotar 2020. And under Carotar 2020, this is only for imports. Under Carotar 2020, we have a Form I or Form 1, which basically asks your supplier, who is going to give you this raw material under the free trade agreement, to provide you some more information about the inputs, so that whether to confirm that it qualifies under the FTA or not. Alright? Finally, what is that you need to look at for? And this is, and I agree, and I'll sum it up in just 2 slides, nothing more. And this is something which I believe you need to go back carrying this from this evening. FTAs were there and are there, and in future also we will have plenty of them. It is not about FTAs, to be very honest. It is about when do you take the advantage of the FTA. To me, India, UK is done and dusted. Let's talk further. Why? Because your buyers has already countered that, calculated. You know, when we talk about stock market or finance, we say, no, it has already been calculated. The balance sheet or the prices have already considered the budget, right? Similarly, your buyer sitting in UAE, Australia, UK has already factored in the duty advantage. So now telling them something is not going to be a very great process. You may be able to enter that market compared to the others, but that's not your win-win, because remember, it's not only you, it's your other Indian competitors also. So if you want to really ace the game, think about FTAs which are likely to be in future. So whether it is the Canada, New Zealand, Peru, GCC, or many others, be ahead of the game. You starting and thinking of exporting to Canada will take you 6 months. You will not get buyer immediately. Start developing. Probably use services of markets where Exim Bank or others have line of credits. Use support from where Chemexil organizes trade fairs. So start creating that market and buyer first. Of course there is a challenge, and that's why you are there. And you have to be prepared. So the day FTA comes up, you already have a buyer. The day FTA comes up, your product is already approved. That is the advantage. If you are the front runner, you will be able to get, because it is the fastest finger first. Of course, post that everybody will get benefit, but every Indian will get the benefit. Now, it's not you alone. All right. So look at the FTAs which are coming. I think that's going to be the game changer. To sum it up, what does the FTA give you? It gives you the market access. As I said, it gives you the foot in the door. I give you a red carpet treatment. You are the VIP like Mr. Anand. Please come. We will allow you to do more business. What does this give you? More and better price realization. Product development, because now you can go to the markets like UK, Europe, USA for the bilateral trade, but to other markets, which will increase your R&D. So now you're not only focusing on the Asian markets or the African markets, you are developing really good high-end technology, better products. One of the most prominent outcome of the FTAs we have seen is the ripple effect. You start doing business in Australia, New Zealand automatically happens. You start doing in Oman, Qatar, Saudi will automatically happen. You start doing in Canada, US will automatically depend because there's a ripple effect. You start doing in Switzerland today, European markets will automatically demand it. Your business will start growing in that region by default because you understand the market automatically also. The demand gets created there. So the advantage is not just restricted to that market, it is that unto. And finally, and this is something if you are able to achieve, I think that's the nail in the whole aspect of business. That's the most important. Plan your strategy where you can gain on both the sides. Think about this. Can you as an exporter plan your purchases, your imports from an FTA country whereby your purchase duty is reduced? Remember, it doesn't have any export compulsions. It does not have, it is also for your domestic market also. So can you plan your purchases from an FTA? And simultaneously, can you plan for your export to another FTA country? Now think about this, your lower purchase cost and your lower landed price, what kind of an edge you will have in the global market. So that's going to be your biggest go-to factor when you use the FTA on both the sides. Right? With that, thank you so very much, guys. You all were wonderful. Thanks to Exim Bank, thanks to Chemexil for inviting. I will feel in my duty if I did not allow you to, guys, slide. Because I could see a lot of people who were trying to take snapshots of this. There's a link available for you guys if you wish to download the copy of the presentation. Feel free to tap on it. My details are available in case if you have any questions, feel free to assist. Thank you once again, Chemexil and Exim Bank for inviting to us. Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shah. I will request Rahul Majumdar please to felicitate sir with a token of appreciation from our side.
फोटोग्राफ के लिए आपको चेंज करा तो कर लो.
So we'll have a Q&A section. It's an open house. You can ask questions to Mr. Shah or Exim Bank team or Rahul or anybody or me for that general. Anybody who would be interested for some questions or clarifications. Can we have the mic please pass on to the people?
We will get Rahul and others on the stage. Chair Chair is okay. We can just understand.
Rahul, if you can come on the stage.
Question answers.
Just 1 second, sir.
Yeah. No.
Anybody? I think somebody had a question there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, one, the mic. Rahul, yes, please.
So good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
Miri sir, I have been following you since long time, and
Okay.
it's been a treat to listen you through webinar or in person as well.
Thank you.
So this FTA is for, with regards to new FTA, to be precise, is SETA or SEPA. Value proposition for is very clear, but with regards to Oman, the cost sheet which you have shown it, I think it's for wholly obtained. It's not required. Correct.
Correct.
But Export Inspection Agency is still asking for it.
They are not asking you for the cost sheet. They will ask you for the declaration with the supporting to confirm whether it is wholly obtained.
No, actually we have prepared the list also. Cost sheet when everything is there, and their profit and raw material bills, everything in addition, overheads, everything is there.
Okay.
So they are asking for it. So that's my question, because usually other FTA does not ask for it. Now
No, so the fundamentally when it is wholly obtained, cost sheets are not required. You have to give a declaration.
Declaration, I think it is fine. I think
No,
everybody
annexure,
can give.
there is an annexure declaration which you have to give with the supporting of the details of that it is wholly obtained with your purchase bills or the details of your domestic purchase.
Okay, so should we counter them about it, because they are asking for it? So that's the
No,
reason.
but my point is, so again, to be very honest, it is more of a the authority who has to verify the data, right?
Okay.
My request and my submission here is, how difficult it is for you to prepare a cost sheet?
No, it is not difficult. Actually, we have prepared that also. But management also have in their mind, sharing all the details to them, and that is wholly obtained.
Agreed, but you are sharing it with the authority. You'll have to trust the authority any which ways.
Okay, so still have to give it.
Yes.
Still, if it is wholly imported, then.
Since they have asked you for that particular instance, yes, you have to.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes. I think we have Anand. Since we have used Anand as an example, Anand has full right to ask multiple questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
Pleasure.
for your nice presentation.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask these tools whether they also give the anti-dumping duties or the safeguard duties in any countries, or is there any tool to find it out? Because that's also becoming very crucial these days.
Fine rules of origin do not, but I think on the Trade Connect, there is very specific detail available, but from a product and other perspective, not exactly on the Tariff Explorer.
Okay.
But on the Trade Connect platform itself, you have sections where you will have those duties and tariffs already provided in terms of anti-dumping and others.
Okay.
But again, when you're saying anti-dumping, you're looking at import. Huh?
Import.
Yeah.
Import or even some of the export countries.
That would be very difficult because see, you are saying to understand the duty of that country, which is not generally published. So I'll put it like this: even a VAT or a GST is not really available because it is going and looking at every change every day because you never know. Like here in GST, probably from a 12% to 18% happens.
Yeah.
It will impact in import also. How do you know in 200 countries what change will happen on that? Because that effectively is not a cost. Now for anti-dumping duty, you have an answer. Yes.
So what happens?
Mike, can we have a mic here, please? नहीं वो तो रखो आनंद के पास ये देखो.
So what happens is, let's say if I take example of steel, okay. So India has free, since we are speaking of FTA, I'm giving an example of FTA. So we have FTA signed with South Korea and Japan in 2010-11 was CASPAS. Now what happens is that suddenly there's a lot of imports of steel coming in. Government of India, like likes of Jindal Steel or Steel Authority of India Limited, they immediately go for countervailing duties. Now CVDs are for a specific period, generally 200 days. Now in 200 days they will say we will not allow imports from so and so country and so HS codes falana udayega. Within that period, that's a leeway that is government of India. Thoda bahut they're giving you that okay in 200 days whatever good you want to make it. Of course there is an extension period also. So that's how this works. So you never know the countervailing duty generally, as Mihir was saying, it's imports. So in alternatively other country, when they are going to have what sort of a thing, you will not be able to premature predict it.
Yeah.
You would see it depends on how that country reacts. It's not only you who is exporting, other countries also exporting. Let's assume European Union. Or let's say nearby countries like this, ASEAN countries. In the morning, someone was mentioning about Vietnam. Vietnam has multiple FTAs that they have signed. Okay, the growth structure is totally different. Their 100% GDP is more than export to GDP ratio is more than 100% because they're mostly Taiwan exports. Now, because they have so many FTAs that are signed, never know at what point of time. Let's say electronics. Vietnam does very well in electronics. Samsung's one of the largest facility outside South Korea is in Vietnam. Now they are producing electronic goods, they are exporting it. Suddenly something happens where domestic market is also getting impacted because of electronics coming in big numbers. They might issue a countervailing duty. So you will never know what point of time how one country is going to react. Because you are not a sole person who is exporting.
So it's transaction to transaction.
Yes.
But my request would be probably just as a follow-up on this, and what I look at it is, once you have identified a market and you've got an overall gist, most of the countries have their tariff custom website available, and which is reasonable even in a English language translated. You will have gist of what you want to find out. So once you have understood, okay, that's, let's say I want to go to Australia and I've got the basic right, you go to the Australian customs tariff and look it from that perspective. It will give you the idea of, okay, the BCD was there, which I know it has been 0, but then there is some GST, something, which you can then probably try to, get an hang over it. So then that would give you some understanding from their official website. In fact, I would rather trust on an official website rather than somebody then, unless it is the World Custom or a United Nations or some official site, because if there's some third party, I do not know how much data has been updated. So if you consider, let's say, oh, there is an anti-dumping duty and maybe that duty has already been removed. or you have not considered and then it's still there. So better go to the original customs website of that country. Yes, do we have any other question? Yes, please, we have a question there.
This rules of origin when it comes to chapter heading and subheading.
Yes,
so
sir.
Could you just kind of rewind on that? I didn't get it clear.
Okay, so the point is that if you are exporting, what is your product you are exporting, sir?
Let's say Profenophos.
Sorry?
A Profenophos, pesticide.
Pesticide. You are exporting a product which is under what chapter?
38.
38. So let's say if you are exporting a product and the rule says you will have to export with 40% Indian content,
Yep.
and there has to be change in chapter CC. So if you have raw material which is not imported, then the matter is over.
Clear. It's
Okay,
100%.
it is wholly obtained. यानी आपके पास आपको बोला गया आपको सेकंड क्लास में आना है पर आपके पास तो फर्स्ट क्लास का टिकट है.
No, that
so
is-
then there
that
is no
is-
problem.
Yep.
But let's say you're importing. So if you are importing, whatever is your import, it should not be, because it is CC, it should not be chapter 38.
Okay.
It can be 28, 29, 30, 31, whatever. It cannot be 38. Why? Because there has to be change of chapter. But let's say it says CTH, change in tariff heading, यानी 4 digit.
4 digit.
So आपका chapter number क्या है? आपका HSN code क्या है? 3808. 3808. So if you are buying raw material which is 3801, good. If you are buying a raw material which is 36, no problem. If you are buying which is 28, no problem. But you cannot buy anything which is 3808.
Exactly. Then it would be treated as a.
Then you will
same
not qualify. You will not qualify because the requirement is CTH plus 40%. Now you say, sir, I have done everything, but हमारा 1%, एक product is under 3808. I have to do only 1 gram. It is under 3808. The requirement is CTH, but I cannot fulfill. Then you might have to go to de minimis and say अगर 10% के अंदर है तो you will be waived off. But let's say that is coming more than that, then because of the calculation, because of the change you are unable to do, that is not considered and you are not eligible for the FTA benefit.
Okay, then we will go for no minimalist there.
I mean, de minimis 10% तक है तो ठीक है, but assume 20% हो गया आपका value 20% of the FOB value है कुछ छोटा सा, but value terms it is 20%. Then it will not fit under the de minimis. Then you are typically, though you have 99% domestic content, but एक product जो आपका same chapter में है, because of that, and it doesn't qualify for the de minimis rule, you have unfortunately not able to take the benefit of the FTA.
And most of the FDAs are based at chapter level or.
Most of the products are at chapter heading level, 4-digit level.
Is the most common norm.
In some cases it is at subheading level also, and very specific products or very limited products are at chapter level. In fact, if it is at chapter level, I would rather say there are products not more on chapter change, they are more on wholly obtained. Because chapter change or wholly obtained may बहुत easy.
More or less the same thing. Okay, thank you.
Right? Cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Just for Exim Bank part, I'll say for any of your requirement, whether it is working capital, long-term guarantee requirement, and we cover the entire guarantee cycle starting from bid bond to PBG, APG, retention. You know whom to contact. We will be more than happy to help. We will request Ganju sir to please come on stage and address the audience. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, hi. Since morning, we all are talking about the warehousing, right? So I came to know there are some myths, some misunderstanding about the warehousing. So at Chemaxil, what we are doing is we are setting up warehouses in the various geographies so that we can take you closer to your buyers. And this is we are doing under the EPM scheme. So whole idea is to create the entire ecosystem for the exports so that we can, improve the export basket of the country. In this, what we are doing is we are setting up warehouses in where we are doing a pilot in Dubai, then we are doing in Houston, Sao Paulo, Rotterdam, Saudi Arabia, Osaka, and other geographies. Altogether, there are 30 warehouses we are setting up in next 3 years' time. First year, there would be around 12 warehouses. And along with the warehouses, we are also setting up the mart, chemical marts. What is chemical mart is, I just give you a small gist. I mean, a place where you can keep your product on display. You can use those addresses as your office in those geographies. You can have your sales team in those locations, in those marts. And also when you're traveling to those countries, you can use them as your office out there. So whole idea is to take you closer to your buyers and facilitate the trade. By doing this, our idea is to, taking you closer to your buyer, making the fulfillment faster, and also it will help you to serve the smaller quantities in those markets. Many of you must be facing the problem where, I mean, buyer is asking for some, you can say samples or something which is 100 or 200 kgs to begin with. This is what we have seen in Vietnam and Brazil, especially for the coating and the your agrochemical sector. In those markets, what happens, your transportation cost is, equivalent to your product cost in many cases. And many a time what you do, you do not take those orders because because of the cost viability. By doing this, what we are doing is, we have, subsidized rate for those warehouses. And we also give you the flexibility. You don't have to pay for 1 year or any, there is a bonding period for keeping your product. There is no minimum quantity required. You can use it as low as 15 days, and you can use it as much as 1 year or something. And also, if if there is there is a expiry of the product, if you're getting those products back to India in 1 year's time, there is no import duty applicable on those products which are being kept in those warehouses. And also, we are talking to the Exim Bank to have a rollover credit facility if you're keeping your stuff in those warehouses. And under the flow scheme, you can say the cap on that is around 5 crore rupees per company per year is the rollover credit facilities available for those warehouses. My team is in touch with maximum of you or those who are our members to take their intent that which all market you want to go to and where you want to see set up your or keep your products in market. So I would request you all to kindly be in touch with the team and give your consent or your intent whether you want to use it, not use it, whatever. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
With this, we conclude. Thank you so much for your attendance. Tea and coffee is being served. If anyone, if you want to have some refreshment, can please take it. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.